Part 20. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bh Yaoye 11U. Chapter 193. It's my mother's fault. She didn't even notice that Xiaobao had frostbite. It's my mother's fault. Suqingyu hugged Xiaobao, coaxed him, walked around with him in her arms, and started crying. While Xiaobao was crying, he stretched out his little hands to touch her face, held her head, and cried with her. Crying and complaining about itchiness. This made Suqingyu feel very distressed. Suqingnao had never had chilblains before, and she had never had chilblains in Fengting Town. The climate in Fengting Town is warm, and Xiaobao didn't suffer from chilblains last year. She herself didn't know what frostbite looked like, so she didn't pay attention to Xiaobao. This year Xiaobao followed her to Renzhou and to the mountains. The mountains were always humid. Ever since she asked Xiyuan to take the mountain spring water in the yard, Xiaobao loved to play with water in the yard. With Lu and Ruyi watching him, and being at home, she didn't pay much attention to him. Unexpectedly, Xiaobao would develop frostbite in just a few days. Not only had the child endured many hardships along the way with her, she was living in the mountains for the first time. She was not accustomed to the soil and climate, and she didn't even notice. It's my mother's fault. Xiaobao won't cry. Suqingyu patted and coaxed him, crying. Xiaobao gradually calmed down under her comfort and stopped crying loudly. But the tears still didn't stop, and I just sobbed quietly. Lying softly on her shoulder. Mother Lu and her daughter came in quickly, holding a bowl of roasted hot ginger slices. Miss, there is no ointment now, let's try the local method first. Rub this hot ginger slice to relieve the itching. Suqingyu nodded. Holding Xiaobao in his arms, he held his Xiaobao to Lu and Ruyi. Give aunt and uncle a wipe for Xiaobao. Just wipe it and it'll be fine, Suqingyu coaxed him. Lu said with distress while wiping, it's all my fault. I didn't even notice Xiaobao's condition. Xiaobao has never lived in the mountains. He is not used to the climate in the mountains. It's all my fault. Mr. Lu shed tears as he spoke. The child, who is usually lively and well-behaved, rarely cries. It's so tiny, so uncomfortable, and I'm still crying because of the painful itching of frostbite. Ms. Lu usually loves Xiaobao very much, but now she saw that he had no energy at all and was lying in Suqingyu's arms, and she felt extremely uncomfortable. Ruyi also felt extremely uncomfortable. Her mother was usually busy with housework, and she took care of Xiaobao. She didn't even notice that Xiaobao had frostbite. Miss, I'm sorry. It's my fault that I didn't notice Xiaobao's condition. Suqingyu shook her head, it's okay. Everyone is too busy during this period, and we have all neglected him. I sleep with him every day and I don't notice that he is uncomfortable. It's my fault as a mother. Seeing Lu's mother and daughter wiping Xiaobao's little hands and feet, she didn't know whether this traditional method was effective, so she asked, is this ginger slice useful? Lu nodded. When people in our village have chilblains, we always use local methods to relieve the itching. Roasted hot ginger slices, radish, or garlic can relieve the itching. Like Xiaobao, it's still in the early stages. It should have some effect. But it's cold in the mountains, and I don't know if Xiaobao can adapt to it. It's better for Xiyuan and the others to go out and buy some chilblain cream. Suqingyu nodded. I sent Xiyuan and the others out to buy quilts 2 days ago, so they didn't notice the frostbite. It seems that when they come back, they will have to go out again. I also have to buy some commonly used medicines to prepare. If there is a heavy snowfall in the winter and the mountains are closed, there is a contingency, which is not a joke. After wiping for a while, Mother Lu and her daughter also wiped Xiaobao's face and ears. Gradually Xiaobao stopped crying. It seems to have some effect. The roasted ginger slices seem to be somewhat effective in relieving itching, but I don't know how long the effect will be. It seems that if you want to cure it, you need to replace chilblain ointment from your system. Is Xiaobao still itchy? It doesn't itch anymore. Sukingyu breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that he was no longer itchy. Lu and Ruyi also breathed a sigh of relief. This time they failed in their duty. Such a cute and sensible child, but they neglected him. It will definitely not be possible in the future. Sukingyu held Xiaobao in her arms and saw that he was no longer crying, so she said to the Lu family and her daughter, I still have some cloth here given by the governor's wife. You two can take the time to help Xiaobao sew some thicker winter clothes. Look. It's hard for Xiaobao to adapt to the climate in this mountain. The mother and daughter nodded, okay. Miss, please give it to us now. We will start doing it now. Okay. Then you go pick out the cloth yourself. We also made winter coats for the three of us. We also made them for Si Yuan. This is the first time for everyone to live in this big mountain, and we don't know how cold it will be in winter. Yes. When going to bed at night, Sukingyu coaxed Xiaobao for a long time and told him fairy tales for a long time. Seeing that he was sleeping deeply, she checked him carefully, replaced chilblain ointment from the system, and gave it to his little hands and feet. The ears were carefully painted. Watching the child's breathing become more and more steady, Sukingyu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Touching Xiaobao's tender little face and watching his little chest rise and fall rhythmically, her heart felt full. After staring at the child for a long time, he lay down next to him and fell asleep. The next day, the village leader Zhong and some village residents came over after learning that Xiaobao had frostbite. He pulled Xiaobao and screamed, feeling sorry for him suffering hardships in the mountains with adults at such a young age. This is the first time this child has lived in this mountain. It is bound to be unaccustomed to the soil and environment. I will boil some village soil and boil it into water and feed it to him. The leader of Zongjai felt heartbroken when he saw Xiaobao, who was usually smart and lively, now looking quiet and wilted. Unexpectedly, his words frightened Sukingyu. Drink the water boiled in the village soil. The leader of Zhong village and several village residents nodded repeatedly, yes, yes. In our big mountains, there are some local methods to treat the water and soil that are not suitable for us. Just find some local soil, add it to water and decoct it and take it. It will be fine. Sukingyu was in a bad mood. Turning around, he saw that Mr. Lu was also eager to find a villager, and he didn't know how to refuse. Fortunately, an ant said, it's better not to drink indiscriminately. Children's stomachs are not as good as those of adults. What if something goes wrong with drinking? In our big mountains, even hiring a doctor has to climb several mountains. I'm afraid it will be broken by then. Yes, yes. It's better for children not to drink randomly. Sukingyu breathed a sigh of relief quietly. A few ants said that they should do a good job in keeping the children warm. They all get chilblains because they are cold and wet. They all taught their experiences to Sukingyu and the Lu family. We need to make thicker clothes. Make face covering hats and earmuffs for children. Children's ears are the softest and can freeze off when it's cold. You don't have a brazier yet? Hurry up and ask the carpenter in the village to make some. It's cold in the mountains in the winter, and it's wet and cold. Even if the clothes are washed and dried for 10.5 months, they can't be dried. They are all dried on the brazier. These words made Mrs. Lu extremely anxious, and she immediately wanted to go out and make arrangements. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 194. Sukingyu and Mr. Lu walked around the village and found out how the villagers kept warm in winter. Read. Everyone has heating tools such as fire basins, fire barrels, and fire baskets at home. When winter comes, the brazier is moved indoors, and the whole family sits in front of the brazier to keep warm. The brazier is made of yellow soil that has been repeatedly beaten and kneaded. When winter comes, firewood or charcoal is put into the brazier and the heat burned in the brazier is used to keep warm. Some fire basins have rims and some don't. The base is three-legged or four-legged. Sukinjeo also saw that some villagers would build a wooden shelf outside the brazier for easy transportation and to put things, cups, and the like. Some villagers will make the fire pot taller and larger, making it into a fire barrel style, with partitions on it so that people can sit on it to keep warm. If you need to walk outside, just carry the fire basket and put the fire pot inside the basket. The basket is made of bamboo or wood and can be carried and slid while walking. It is a proper walking heating tool. It is similar to the hand stove and soup pot that rich people hold in their arms. Sukingneo had never seen these before, and watched them with gusto at the homes of the villagers. The villagers in the mountains also tried various ways to keep warm. Lu was very interested and looked at it very carefully. Immediately I thought of the mason and carpenter's house, and planned to make several fire pits and various tools for the family. Sukingyu held her back. When the two returned home, Sukingyu drew a few pictures and asked her to find a mason and carpenter to make them. Whether you are burning firewood or charcoal, there is smoke in the brazier. If you put it in the house, it will be smoky. First, it will choke people, and second, it will cause carbon dioxide poisoning. Xiaobao is still young, so she has to eliminate these potential dangers. Seeing that Xiaobao did not run out of the house because of frostbite, Sukingyu felt very uncomfortable when she saw him holding the door frame and looking outside. The child is very obedient and knows that if he runs outside, his hands will itch and he will feel uncomfortable. If the adults tell him not to run outside, he will stay quietly in the house. Xiaobao is a lively and active child, and she cannot let him stay indoors all winter. And in this mountain, the temperature inside and outside the house is almost the same. Children cannot be left in bed all the time. Sukingyu then asked the mason to bring a few people over to make the Kong bed. Not only Xiaobao, but no one else in the family has ever lived in the mountains. The winter in this mountain is not only cold, but also humid. Sukingneo planned to make a Kong bed because she was afraid that everyone would not be able to bear it. The mason from the village arrived with his 2.5 young men and several experienced old men from the village. Everyone was very concerned about Sukinjeo's affairs. As soon as they heard that she had to do some work at home, everyone in the village who could do the masonry work arrived. Everyone was confused when they heard about making a Kong bed. Never done it? Then I heard that it was like a fire barrel, with a fire burning underneath and people sleeping on top. I seem to understand. Just make the fire barrel bigger, and instead of sitting on it to keep warm, you can sleep on it to keep warm. No, can it be made into a fire barrel that you can sleep on and keep warm? Everyone was interested. Zongjai leader was so busy that he trotted over and came over. Sukingyu explained with a smile, it's not called a big fire barrel, it's called a Kong bed. In the south, we use braziers, fire barrels, and fire baskets for heating. In the north, we build Kong beds in the house. In winter, the whole family sits on the Kong bed to keep warm. There is a flue dug in the middle of the Kong bed, with a stove mouth and a smoke outlet. Firewood is burned at the stove mouth. The smoke and heat generated by burning the firewood heat the entire Kong, causing the Kong to generate heat to achieve the purpose of heating. And the smoke is expelled from the chimney to the outside. After she said this, everyone understood. This thing is great. The fire barrel can only seat one person, so if there are many people in the family, many will have to be made. It would be great if this could be made into a fire bed as big as the whole family could sit on it. You can sleep warm without worrying about the firewood in the brazier burning out. There is no need to worry about the smoke choking people in the house. This is good. People gathered around and asked what to do. Sukingyu gave the drawings to the mason. The pictures must be clear and distinct. The mason understood it immediately and started work immediately. Other excited villagers saw that the Kong had to be connected to the earthen wall. Their houses are made of wood, and it seems they can't build them, which is very frustrating. Sukingyu then said, the Kong does not have to be connected to the wall. A wooden house can also be made, she reassured. He drew another picture and explained it to the villagers. It is equivalent to making a large fire bed in a wooden house, made of mud instead of wood. But the flue and chimney must be built. And there is a good thing, the stove door does not have to be built outside the house, it can be built inside the house. If you don't want to go out to add firewood to the stove in the middle of the night, you can put the stove in the house. You can also connect a flue to the fire bed and the brazier frame. The brazier frame is also built with mud. Fix it in the house and build the stove mouth away from the bed. A brazier is placed on this mud shelf, and the stove mouth is connected to the brazier and then passes through the flue of the brazier to the Kong bed. This eliminates the need to build the Kong bed next to the wall. Sukingyu walked around the stockade and found that most of the stockades were made of wooden houses. Some people dug a pit in the house as a stove hole to keep warm in winter. Put firewood in the stove hole for heating, and hang a pot on it to boil water or stew a pot of food for the whole family to sit around and eat together. Eat while keeping warm. It looks very convenient. But, the room was so engulfed in smoke that the surroundings were pitch black. The furniture and clothes at home were all dusty, with a layer of dust falling on them, making them look dark and not clean. This is a very good idea and can serve multiple purposes. But the exhaust was not done properly. Sukingyu explained it to everyone while drawing pictures, which made everyone feel so excited that they wanted to drag the mason to his home to make some rectifications. Sukingyu also drew a fire table based on the villagers' braziers. I plan to put it in the dining room. This winter, eating in the cafeteria is probably a painful experience. After the rice is taken out of the pot and placed on the table, it is estimated that within a short time, the oil will have solidified and the dishes will have become cold. It's useless to have a brazier, it's too local. It's just right to make a fire table. In the middle is the fire barrel, which is covered with a wooden round table. The entire round table is equivalent to the rim of the fire pot, with a base and a stove mouth underneath for burning firewood. A hole is dug in the middle of the round table and separated by iron bars, where pots and pans can be placed and water can be boiled for cooking. The heat from the fire barrel in the middle will be transmitted to the table. First, it can keep the food warm, making eating more elegant. It doesn't have to be like fighting. Eat it while it's hot. Secondly, when sitting around the fire table, your legs can also get the heat from the burning fire barrel to keep them warm. You can eat, drink tea and do needlework at the table. If you want to be warmer, you can add a layer of cloth along the edge of the table and put your legs inside, which will make it warm and comfortable. Then make a pipe on one side to exhaust smoke. There is no smoke in the room, it is clean and warm, and the whole room can be kept at a relatively high temperature. This is a perfect artifact. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 195. As soon as everyone heard what Sukingyu said, they immediately gathered around. Ms. Su, you draw one for me, and I'll find a carpenter to make one too. Draw one for me too. Draw one for me. Put one in my house and one in the kitchen. Before Sukingyu could say anything, the Zongjai leader pulled her out of the encirclement. President, Qing Lao, do you think we can let everyone in the village do this? Huh, you just want Zaza to do it, aren't you talking about it? The leader of Zongjai glanced at her, hating that iron cannot become steel. Why is his brain so bad? Explained, look, everyone in our village wants it, and every family wants more than one. So you say, use the strength of our entire village to make more, and then sell it to people in other villages or outside. People. Hey, this seems okay. This loyal village leader is on the right track. Uncle Joan, you can do it. It's only been a few days, and you already have economic awareness in your mind. So Qingyu almost looked at him with admiration. Zongjai leader looked proud. That's right. Following the president, my brain has become brighter. Su Qingnao then thought about it. Uncle Joan was right, everyone wanted his own village, and many people in other villages also wanted it if he couldn't protect it. Maybe it will be sold to the county and state and more people will grab it. Suddenly my heart felt hot. She had to save more money. There was a war and chaos outside. She still had to find her sister and Yaya, Sudahua, and Su's father and mother. And Lu Bachan. Every step requires money. He pulled Master Zhong away a little further. Uncle Zhong, look, in 2 days, other village masters will come for a meeting, won't we? Let's keep it secret for now and don't let the news spread. In these 2 days, quickly let the carpenters in the village know. Let's make a few samples first, then. The Zongjai leader nodded repeatedly. The president is still awesome, he thinks so far. Okay, then I will go in first and ask them to keep it secret, so as not to leak it. I will find the spare manpower in the village to do this together. Make more. This will prevent others from copying. Su Qingyu nodded, yes. That's the truth. After thinking about it for a while, he said, when my Kong bed is ready, let the masons make another one for the gatekeeper of the village. It is also hard for everyone to be on duty in winter. If other families in the village want to do something, they can queue up at the mason's place. Then we will also let the bricklayers do it. Other village owners look at this Kong bed. Okay, I'll sign up first. My old arms and legs get worried when winter comes. When people get old, they are afraid of winter. Okay. No one will compete with you. After the two reached an agreement, the leader of Zhong village went into the house and gave orders to the villagers present. When everyone heard that they were going to make the fire Kong and the fire table and sell them to others, which would bring income to the village, they felt excited and expressed that they would keep it secret and also wanted to contribute. After the heating matter is settled. The next day, Su Qingyu walked around the village and selected several flat areas to build several houses. We are going to start construction after the village owners come to have a meeting tomorrow. The leader of Zongjai also made arrangements for the masons and carpenters. 30 young and strong laborers were mobilized from the stockade to build defense fortifications in each stockade, but there was still a lot of surplus labor in the stockade, and these two jobs did not require hard work. Old men, young men, ants, and young girls could do it. Get started. The leader of Zongjai began to resent that there were too few people in the village, so he arranged work for the remaining manpower, and felt that there was a lot of work left undone. In previous years, everyone would prepare for the cat winter at this time, but this year everyone thought that they were robbed by thieves and many people were killed and injured. This winter would be extremely miserable. But I didn't expect that winter hadn't started yet. Everyone was bracing for the autumn weather, but they didn't feel the chill at all. Their hearts were burning, and they worked so hard that everyone wanted to break into two people. Although they were assigned various tasks, everyone was extremely happy doing it, with wind blowing from their feet. The news spread quickly, and all the villagers knew that Xiaobao had frostbite. The woman who had children at home felt very distressed and took all the winter equipment for her children. Many villagers also found all the furs hidden at home and sent them to Su Qingyu's home. There are a lot of wild animals in the mountains, and every villager has a lot of furs hidden in their home. They may not have cotton quilts for winter, but every household has a lot of furs hidden, some of which have been hidden for many years. They rely on various furs to stay warm during the winter. Su Qingyu refused to take what they had for nothing. The villagers are self-sufficient and it is not easy to save some things. Su Qingyu picked some from among them, paid the money, and bought them with the villagers. The villagers didn't want money either, so if they didn't want to accept money, Sukingyu wouldn't want it. In the end, I collected a lot of fur by half buying and half giving. Sukingneo was grateful and planned to find a way to make up for this favor in the future. Sukingyu, mother, and daughter Lu looked at the large pile of furs in the room, mostly wolf skins, rabbit skins, sheep skins, a few deer skins, and 2 fox skins. The 3 of them spent a day sorting the various furs by category and color, planning to make some fur coats and cloaks for the family, and each of them would make 2 pairs of waterproof shoes. For the past 2 days, Xiaobao has been given frostbite cream by Sukingyu at night, and Lu and her daughter have been applying various ginger and garlic rubs on him during the day. The itchiness is no longer there, and he is happily playing among the piles of fur. The 3 people also indulged him and let him play, smiling at him while working. The next day, just after breakfast, the village owners came over. The village owners who lived far away also set out early and arrived at Beijiazai one after another throughout the day. Each person brought 1 or 2 people, carrying, and brought all kinds of products found in and around the villages as instructed by Suqing'an. Suqing'an welcomed the people to the meeting hall. She also asked the mother and daughter of the Lu family to serve breakfast and hot soup to everyone. Some people ate on the road, but how could cold dry food compare to hot soup and hot food? Everyone ate so hot. In less than half an hour, all 28 village chiefs were present. Suqing'an was very happy. It seems that people's concept of punctuality and trustworthiness is much better these days. Then, according to the principle of first come first served, the village chiefs came forward one by one to introduce the list of products collected by each village. First, there were all kinds of food, grown in the village, and food found around the village, all kinds of food. It is true that people take food as their first necessity. Then there were wild animals in the mountains, and finally the treasures, herbs, and various trees in the mountains. Each village has dozens or even hundreds of species. There are many overlaps. After all, they are all in the same mountain. Si Yuan and Si Yuan were not back from shopping outside, so Suqing'an asked Xiu'er to follow and take notes. If Xiu'er didn't understand something, she would help take notes. The 2 of them cooperated tacitly. In one morning, the 28 village owners finished displaying the products they brought, and Suqing'an also finished recording. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 196. Some local products that Suqing'an often saw in Beijia village were also seen in other villages. Suqing'an began to pay attention to the types of products that Beijia village did not have. She found that in addition to various fungi, medicinal herbs, and nuts, there were also many kinds in these mountains. Suqing'an searched through the burdens and backpacks of the village chiefs and found many things. The village chief of Shuhan village saw that Suqing'an was interested in what he found, and immediately straightened his back. Suqing'an took a few things in her hand and asked him, "Are there many of these nuts in the mountains?" The chief of Shuhan village nodded, "There are quite a lot, but the trees are too high, so it's not easy to pick them. The kids just pick them up from the ground." Several people in the village saw it and said, "We have some in the mountains, but they are sweet for kids, and adults don't like to eat them. The shells are too hard. There's nothing to eat." Suqing'an looked at the chiefs who had spoken up and saw that they didn't bring these things. Just when she was about to ask, the chiefs said, "We didn't bring the fruits, but we brought the leaves." She said hurriedly because she was afraid that Suqing'an would blame her. Suqing'an nodded at them. She had only said that they should bring something that could prove it, and she didn't say whether they wanted leaves or fruits. But she really didn't recognize some leaves, but she could recognize the fruits. She took a few things and went around in front of the chiefs of each village. All the chiefs said that there were these in the mountains. "Didn't you go to the mountains in autumn? Didn't you pick up mountain products?" Suqing'an asked. "Yes, Yes. In previous years, everyone went to the mountains and picked up mountain products. We picked up walnuts, chestnuts, millets, and hazelnuts and ate them in winter. Sometimes we would take some out to sell when we sold wild animals, the village chief spoke. Suchingen nodded after listening. She saw various nuts in the baskets of many village chiefs. It seems that there are a lot of nuts in the mountains. She raised the things in her hand. What about these ones? No one picked them up. A village chief saw it and said, "We have picked up those fruits, but the shells are too hard and the flesh is not delicious, so we didn't want them. And that one, there is a black residue when you bite it, and children don't like to eat it." Suchingen followed what he pointed to and looked at her hand. The thing that the village chief pointed to, which had a black residue when you bite it, was Torreya grandis. Holding up a peeled Torreya grandis, she asked, "Is this the one that has black residue when you bite it? Do you know what this is?" Everyone shook their heads. No one likes this stuff. But its wood is good stuff, with moderate hardness and water resistance, making it a good material for furniture. It also has a light fragrance and is not easy to crack, so everyone likes to cut it to make furniture. Suking Mei said, "This is Torreya grandis. It takes about 3 years from flowering to fruit maturity, and it only bears fruit once every 3 years. It is extremely rare and precious. Many Torreya grandis take hundreds of years to bloom, and grafted ones take 10 years to bear fruit. After bearing fruit, one tree can only pick 10 to 20 kilograms. So it is more expensive in modern times. In ancient times, Suking Mei estimated that most people had never seen it. Ah, this thing is Torreya grandis. I was wondering why I could see it sometimes and not sometimes. It turns out that it only bears fruit once every 3 years. What is grafting? Does it take 10 years for a new plant to bear fruit? Is this thing so precious? But it doesn't taste good. It's crumbs when you take a bite." Suking Mei smiled and said, "You need to be patient when eating this, just like you can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. You need a little patience for delicious food. What do you think? If we sell this thing from the mountains to the outside world, it will only bear fruit once every 3 years. You can eat it once. Do you say that people outside will buy?" The owners of each village nodded yes. He picked up some and brought it to me. I picked up my little treasure to eat. The owner of the village here was not a fool. When I heard it, I knew that this thing was really valuable. I ran to the back basket of the tree in the village. "Let's take a look, you are so stingy, you are stingy." The village chief of Shuhan village immediately held the basket in his arms, fearing that it would be snatched away. Things that even children were reluctant to pick up before have become treasures now, so they must be taken good care of. One village chief was unwilling to accept this, saying, "Why did he have something valuable? His village was not far from him. President, take a look at ours, are there any valuables?" Suking Mei glanced down and said nothing. She raised something in her hand to show everyone, "This is pecan. Although it is not as big as walnuts, it is also delicious and has a high yield. It can nourish the brain and strengthen the brain. It is very beneficial for children and the elderly to eat more. It can also blacken and nourish hair. Is there anyone who picks it up?" The people who came with pecans straightened their backs immediately and glanced at the village chief of Shuhan village. "Humph, who doesn't think he has rare things?" The village chief of Shuhan village held the basket and refused to put it down. "It's not like we don't have pecans. It's just that the fruit is too small and the shell is hard and it's not convenient to take the meat, so everyone doesn't like to eat it. I'll order people to go up the mountain to look for it when I go back." Then I heard Suking say, "There is also this black pine nut, which is also a good thing. It moisturizes the intestines and replenishes qi. In winter, everyone hides their cats at home, so every family should prepare some snacks. Nuts are eaten at home and are loved by both adults and children. These are treasures in our mountains. It may be too late this year. Wait until next year. We will make a good plan and go into the mountains to harvest the autumn harvest. When the market is built, everyone will sell these good things in the mountains and turn them into money, so that everyone's pockets will be full. Stand up. These words made everyone feel excited. Sell the good goods to mountains, sell them into money, and make everyone's pockets thicker. Everyone was excited and excited. There should be a lot of nuts in the mountains now. Let people go up the mountain to have a look when we get back. Sukingyu looked into everyone's baskets and said, well, some village owners haven't eaten these things yet. I see that everyone has brought some. Everyone gathers together, and I'll let people put these mountain goods in. Let's stir fry it for everyone so that everyone can taste it, so that they don't treat it like fat. Okay, everyone agreed. I just heard the president say how good it is. They have never tried it and don't know if it is really good. If they can try it, they can taste it and go back to promote it to everyone. Everyone immediately dug out all the mountain nuts in the basket, and each family took a little, which was quite a lot for the 28 villages. Sukinjeo told Lu and Ruyi and asked them to take them to the kitchen for frying. Then he went on to tell everyone about the property. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhjiaoye 11U. Chapter 197. There were many tree species, and the village owners only brought branches and leaves. Sukingyu knew some of them and some didn't, and planned to go to the mountains to see them in person later. Read. Looking at what everyone brought, there were a lot of mushrooms, so he asked, how did everyone deal with the mushrooms they picked in previous years? Each family dries it and saves it for vegetables. In winter, when there is no food to eat, I add a handful of it to the soup. It is so fresh that my eyebrows will fall off. Sukingyu couldn't help but laugh when she saw the village leader slobbering while talking. Have you ever heard of the term delicacies from mountains and seas? I've heard of it. Of course I've heard of it. You'll know this even if you haven't seen it before. That's good. We don't have seafood here. They are mountain delicacies. We live in the mountains. We are used to seeing these fungi. We may not think they are precious, but it is not easy for people outside to eat them. They all buy them at a high price. Sukingyu had opened a vegetable shop and made dried vegetables. Su Shayan also asked her to collect dried mushrooms. She knew the price of mushrooms. If you want to sell the things in the village, fungi are a good thing. Is this thing very expensive outside? Sukingyu nodded and looked through the baskets in everyone's house. Those kinds of matsutake mushrooms, gallinaceous mushrooms, morels, chanterelles, and hericium are all sold at very good prices. Like this kind, one piece of hericium can be sold for the price of 1 stone of grain, and the price is still high. All the village leaders opened their mouths. Ah, this weird-looking mushroom, how much does it cost to sell for 1 stone of grain? President, are you kidding me? When did the president make a joke? Come on, I want to take a closer look. God, what kind of precious mushrooms are these? Can you become an immortal after eating them? Why are they so expensive? The village leader who brought hericium mushrooms held the basket in his arms like the leader of Shuhan village, and asked cautiously, President, are these mushrooms really so expensive? Sukingyu smiled and nodded. God. The village leader immediately lost his composure. I plan to send people into the mountains to look for him as soon as we get back. 1 flower sells for 1 stone of food. God, if everyone in the village can find one, they won't have to worry about food. Everyone was very excited. There were so many fungi, but they didn't know the names. They just called them randomly based on their color, size, and appearance. It was really nice to be called by the president this and that. It turns out these fungi are so expensive. How much food did they eat? I really want to dig it out and exchange it for food. There are quite a few of these fungi that are poisonous. Sukinyu picked up 2 of them and showed them to everyone. Fortunately, I usually eat these wild animals in the mountains, and I have gained experience in eating them. Those who don't understand them won't easily pick them and eat them. So there isn't much entrainment. I hope that our 28 villages will set up markets and then set up a special purchasing department to centrally purchase things from each village and sell them out together. This way, firstly, the quantity will be large, so that we can negotiate prices with outsiders, and secondly, avoid wastage of personnel and prices, and avoid confusion of prices due to competition. At that time, if your village goes out to negotiate a price, and my village goes out to negotiate a price in order to sell, it will be a mess. Take this fungus again, if no one checks it, poisonous fungi are mixed in and sold outside. If you eat people to death, I'm afraid we won't be able to get away with it. When everyone heard this, their hearts trembled. This is the truth. Don't mess around. Don't let the small lose the big. Besides, if you want to sell it outside, there is no one. It's not like everyone has never sold outside before, but the gold is sold as yellow mud. Everyone doesn't know what the goods are, and all they sell is the price of bean sprouts. All the village owners agreed with Sukinyu's opinion and asked her to open the market as soon as possible. She wants to run the market, which is where the real money comes from. But before the defense fortifications are completed, there is no manpower and material resources to do it. We still have to wait for spring. But she will choose a location before winter. Then he said to everyone, each village cannot expect to exchange money for things that grow in the mountains. In addition to wild animals in the mountains, each village must develop its own products that can be sold for money in the long term. What kind of long-term property can be sold for money? Each village can discuss this on its own. But I have some ideas. President, tell me, we will all listen to you. They didn't even know the things they brought, and they treated the treasures as fertilizer. The ancestors have been trapped for generations guarding the treasure. So you still have to listen to the president. Seeing that everyone was in unison, Sukinyu nodded, dug out something from a village owner's basket, and held up a bamboo leaf to show everyone. I found that everyone has bamboo in their village. Bamboo is a good thing. Hey, what did everyone think it was? Bamboo is too ordinary. It can be seen everywhere, and it is not good to say it is good, but it can be cut down to make bamboo buildings, bamboo furniture, bowls, and cups, but it seems to have no other use. You can't eat or burn it. Have you ever eaten bamboo shoots? Sukinyu glanced down and asked. I've eaten it. How come I haven't eaten it before? When the year was bad, I dug up the guanyin soil and ate it. However, the bamboo shoots are not very delicious. No one wants to eat them when there is usually vegetables and food. Sukinyu smiled. She really likes eating bamboo shoots. The reason why bamboo shoots are not delicious is because you did not remove the bitterness when eating them. After removing the bitterness, they are very delicious. They can be eaten fresh or dried, or they can be eaten pickled. It can be eaten after being brewed, fresh, sour, or dried. It can be stir-fried or stewed. It is delicious and fresh. Someone was slobbering down there. Is it really as delicious as the president said? Who has never eaten bamboo shoots? Seeing everyone's expressions of disbelief, Sukinyu said, I don't think anyone brought bamboo shoots, which is a pity. Otherwise, I will ask my servants to make them for you to eat. The leader of Zongjai felt hungry just after hearing her words. He immediately stood up and said, I will order people to go into the mountain to dig some. Seeing Sukinyu nodding, she immediately trotted out. If there were so many ways to eat bamboo shoots, the villagers would have one more thing to eat. Suddenly there was wind at my feet. I was afraid of missing the content of the meeting, so as soon as I walked out the door, I put my hands on my hips and shouted, Someone comes. The voice was very loud. Someone who lived nearby immediately ran toward him, and he immediately confessed. Without waiting for anyone to respond, he immediately turned around and trotted back to the meeting hall. Sukingyu and others heard his voice in the meeting room. Seeing him come back, everyone smiled at him. He didn't take it seriously either. A bunch of old guys, asking you not to listen to the meeting and run out to take a look. I'm afraid none of you are willing to get your butts off the stool. When Sukingyu saw him coming back, she held up another thing and said, I just said that bamboo has many benefits, and the bamboo shoots are also delicious. The other thing is that the bamboo fungus growing in the bamboo forest is a good thing. Only one village leader came with bamboo fungus. He didn't even know what this ugly thing was called. There are a lot of them in the bamboo forest. No one wants it. He thought that if he found more of the same thing, he would get a reward, so he brought it over. Didn't he expect it to be a good thing? Suddenly my heart felt hot. There are good things in their village too. His body straightened immediately. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 198. This ugly thing is called Zusun? The grandson of Bamboo, a village leader, looked at Sukingyu and asked. Read. Sukingyu couldn't help but laugh. It is not the grandson of Bamboo, and son is not the grandson of grandson. It has the same pronunciation but different words. It is a kind of fungus. It is delicious in stir-fry and soup. It is very delicious. Is this edible? Is it delicious? None of the village owners present had eaten it before, and they couldn't believe that this ugly thing could be delicious. Sukingyu glanced at everyone, and when she saw everyone's expressions of disgust, she made a somewhat mysterious look and said with a smile, It's very valuable. Now no one dares to dislike it. When they heard that it was valuable, they all sat up straight and their ears perked up again. Just when he was about to hear what Sukingyu had to say, she unexpectedly changed her tone. So I plan to ask each village to plant some bamboo. But this will have to wait until spring. I'm afraid the planting will not survive now. But some preparations can be done. Hey, why do you think it's so difficult to grow bamboo? Bamboo is useful, bamboo shoots are delicious, bamboo forests grow bamboo fungus, and bamboo fungus is valuable. So what can't be planted? Plant, you must plant more. Everyone responded. In addition, the village owner brought some tea. There are also tea fruits. But Sukingyu has been here in Chuacheo for so long, she has never seen anyone who likes to drink brewed tea leaves. They all make tea leaves into tea cakes, grind them into tea foam, fry them and add various ingredients, such as onions and ginger, dates, orange peel, dogwood, mint, salt, and so on. She really doesn't like drinking. So I don't know what the tea market is like. She still had to investigate whether tea could be grown and whether anyone would want it. But tea fruit is a good thing and can be fried in oil. This is called tea fruit. If you want to plant bamboo, don't cut down the tree that bears tea fruit. It will be of great use in the future. Everyone circulated it one after another. Note it down. After lunch, we continued talking about products, and we talked about products all day long. Finally, Sukingyu picked up something. She had been holding it back for a day and had always planned to leave it until the end. Otherwise, I am afraid that the village owners will not be interested in listening to other content. This is the best thing today. When I heard it, it was the best thing today. After sitting all day, everyone's tired bodies immediately sat upright again. Taking a closer look, it turned out to be a branch in the president's hand. Many people recognized it. What a good thing. Someone quietly leaned back on the chair again. What good stuff is this? No one cuts down this tree to make furniture. The leader of Zongjai didn't like this tree either. He thought it was covered with a layer of white stuff and was troublesome to take care of. When he heard that bamboo was going to be planted today, he wanted to cut down all the trees in the mountain to plant bamboo. Sukingyu didn't take it seriously. If she hadn't stood on the shoulders of giants and stood on the history accumulated by her predecessors, she wouldn't have known these things. Then he said, "This is called an ash tree. It got its name because of the white stuff on it. The white stuff on it is the secretion produced by a kind of insect. It can be said that it is its feces. But I don't dislike it. That's the real good stuff." Several village owners curled their lips, thinking about the feces produced by insects. With a look of disgust on his face, what good could it be? Sukingyu glanced at everyone and said it out loud, fearing that you would come and snatch it away. "Do you know about candles?" "Then who doesn't know? We can't afford it. It hurts to light an oil lamp, and we fall asleep as soon as it gets dark." Sukingyu smiled. Everyone felt that burning candles was a waste of money, and the prices sold outside were very expensive. He said, "Everyone knows about candles, but do you know about white wax? Pewter wax is more expensive and cannot be used." The village owner who knew the market shook his head. "Yes. White wax is more expensive, and people who are not rich can't afford it. I once heard a story about two people who were richer than each other. One said that the water used for shabu at home was sugar water, but the other said that his family only used white wax. Used as firewood. Rinse the pot with sugar water and use white wax as firewood. That's really rich. Tisk tisk tisk, prodigal son." The village leaders shook their heads and sighed. Sukingyu shook the branch in her hand. "Do you want to know how white wax is made? Then who knows? It's a secret. And can anyone tell us? Who wouldn't cover up something so expensive?" The leader of Zongjai had been with Suqing for the longest time and knew that she would not do anything aimless. He stared at the white branch in her hand and opened his mouth. "Is this what pewter is made of?" "Ah. This, insect secretions, feces. Making white wax? So expensive white wax?" The crowd was excited and gathered around again. The leader of Shuhan village didn't even hold the basket, he just put it on the ground and squeezed over. "There's no rush now. Urgent, urgent, white wax, how much is it worth? This matter is really not urgent right now. I brought it up to you first. I know that during this period, every village has to build defense fortifications and go into the mountains to cut down trees. Let me tell you, this kind of ash tree must not be cut down. Already? No, that must not be possible. That's gold. Can it be chopped? I will chop whoever I chop. Today I want to remind everyone that this tree cannot be cut down, and secondly..." Sukingyu paused. He just said, "There is no hurry about this matter now. We will discuss it again in the spring. Every village needs to cut down trees to make village gates, but this kind of tree must not be cut down. Okay. I won't cut it anymore." Although everyone was anxious to know how to turn these white secretions into white wax, the president stopped talking and it was hard for them to continue asking. The president must have something in mind. Then everyone will wait and see. When I got back, I told everyone not to cut down this kind of tree. Some village owners who were doing defensive works were anxious and wanted to go back to the village to have a look. What if someone with no foresight chopped down the tree? After talking about the property for a day, we finally finished talking about it. Sukingyu looked around and saw what the 28 village owners had brought, and she felt somewhat confident. "I also have a plan in mind for the planning of the villages in the spring." Dinner was eaten in the meeting room. One of the dishes was bamboo shoots dug by the master of Zongjai. Sukingyu taught Lushi several ways to make it. Lushi's skills are pretty good. Adding the dried pheasant meat and wild boar meat, stir fry, Stir fry and stew it, then put it in the soup, it tastes so fragrant. Everyone enjoyed the meal. It was so quick to take off the chopsticks, only the after image was visible. I didn't expect these bamboo shoots to be so delicious. So many years were wasted. What a waste. The village owners all planned to dig in the mountains when they returned. It's also a good addition to the table in winter. After the meal, Lu Shi and Ruyi brought various fried nuts for everyone to eat. Everyone ate with gusto. You know what kind of treasures they treat as soil. In fact, Sukinjao said, there are no unpalatable nuts in the world, it's just that the taste is wrong. Look at all the village owners enjoying their meal, aren't they? Before the meeting ended, a group of village owners stayed in Beijiazai in the evening. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Baijiaoye 11U. Chapter 199. The next day, the meeting continued. Reading. Yesterday was about understanding, and today is mainly about planning. In addition, the weather is getting colder. I heard that every year there are cases of elderly people and children freezing to death in each village, so Suqing'an invited everyone to visit her Kong bed and fire table. Let everyone make sure that the villagers in the village can spend the winter safely and no one will freeze to death or get frostbitten. After seeing the Kong bed and Kong table, the village chiefs were amazed and said they all wanted them and wanted to move them home. They were excited. With these two things, the villagers would no longer have a hard time in winter. But Suqing'an did not intend to give them away for free. If each village needs the drawings of the Kong bed and fire table, it must pay a technology transfer fee. After all, Suqing'an planned to let Beijia village make them and sell them outside, and this leak would affect the sales volume. And it was agreed with everyone that if other villages make good things in the future and other villages also want them, they will also need to pay a technology transfer fee. The village chiefs nodded in agreement after a little thought. Maybe with this incentive, everyone can be innovative. It doesn't make sense that just because we all live in the same mountain, the people in your village are smarter than us. The deal was settled quickly. Each village charged a transfer fee of 10 taels of silver. Anyway, it was only sold once. In the future, each village could use it every year. Suqingmei didn't care whether the villages would spread it or not, and whether she would make it and give it to a relative or relative. Anyway, she only charged 10 taels from each village. It was just one time. The money was not too much or too little, and everyone was willing to pay it in the end. Anyway, it wasn't the village owners who paid for it themselves. When the time came, each family in the village would share it. How much money would it cost in a winter? And it could be used every year. How many people would be saved from frostbite and freezing to death? Many village owners didn't bring money, so Suqingmei kept a record of them one by one, and would deduct them from the accounts of each village in the future. Everyone was happy. In the afternoon, Suqingmei took the village owners to visit the defense fortifications of Beijia village and took a tour of the village gate. At present, except for the gate and trench of Beijia village, other villages have not started to build them yet. This is very eye-catching. The gate is tall and spectacular, and small fish and shrimps are jumping in the trench. Imagining that my own village can also have such a spectacular gate, my heart is hot and excited. They all held their breath in their hearts and said that they would listen to the president's words in the future, and follow the president to work hard to live a good life. Suqingmei didn't know that she had gained another wave of people's hearts at this meeting. Suqingmei ended the meeting at the beginning of the afternoon. I made an appointment with everyone for the last meeting of the year before winter, and then let everyone go. Go home quickly before dawn. At that time, the defense fortifications of all the villages should be completed, just in time to test the results and check everyone's preparations for winter. This time, everyone left with a sense of mutual appreciation, as if they had finally found an organization. It's no longer a village fighting alone. There are so many brother villages fighting together, and they are no longer a mess. It's great. 2 days after the meeting, Si Yuan and Beisha returned with the team that went out to purchase goods. The villagers gathered around to watch. Now there was chaos outside, and there were fewer caravans than usual. Supplies were in short supply, and prices were high. People couldn't buy much when they went out of the mountains. Unexpectedly, when they came here, Si Yuan and his team actually brought back a lot of things this time. The village can carry livestock, but not horse and ox carts. All the goods were carried into the mountains. They carried them to the place where Sukingmei lived halfway up the mountain. Many villagers in the village helped to transport the goods. They were so tired that they were panting. Fortunately, there is a village gate now, and there are people on duty. They can see them coming back from a distance. They run a few steps into the village and shout, and everyone comes to help. Unlike before, no one came to help for a long time. After Sukingmei put away all the private items she had bought, she put the remaining items in the front yard. If the villagers needed them, they could buy them by themselves. Si Yuan and the others said that they could not buy all these things outside, and the governor's office helped them find a way. Sukingmei expressed her understanding. At this time, only the government could buy such a complete range of things. She felt that she owed another big favor to Governor Pei. This time, she mainly asked Si Yuan and the others to buy quilts, cotton, and other items for the winter. Although she brought a lot of them when she entered the mountains, she felt that it might not be enough, so she bought a lot more this time. Moreover, she walked around the village and found that everyone's winter clothes were not well prepared. Among this pile of things, oil, salt, and other items, almost every family picked up a lot. Although the price is expensive, you still have to eat and drink. But almost no one is interested in cotton cloth. It is too expensive, several times more expensive than usual. Almost no one is willing to buy it. Seeing that no one is interested, Sukingmei asked Lu and others to move all the cotton and cloth in. Everyone also bought a lot of rice, flour, grains, and other things. Food is the most important thing for people. You can go without clothes and hide at home with furs, but you can't go without food. Almost every family came to choose some things this time. It's rare for everyone to go out of the mountains. In addition, the bandits entered the mountains this time, and there was chaos outside. Everyone didn't dare to go out, so Sukingmei asked Si Yuan, Beishu and others to buy a lot of things back. But Sukingmei estimated that after this wave of purchases, the villagers might have no money at home. Some villagers hesitated and spoke to Sukingmei with difficulty, so Sukingmei gave them credit. If they usually had some food left over, they would also have some money left over. You can take it outside in exchange for some food or buy some oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar for your family, but after the bandits' plunder, each family has almost no food left. Sukingyu also expressed her understanding and gave almost everything on credit. After everyone left, Sukingyu discussed it with the leader of Zongjai. Sukingyu saw everyone's situation and couldn't just watch. She lives in Beijiazai, and her family will have to rely on the care of the villagers in the future. In the past few days, she took a lot of furs from the villagers. Just wanted to repay everyone. The two discussed it and decided to organize everyone. Women go into the mountains to pick up fungi, herbs, mountain products, and the like. The men went hunting together. I heard that various supplies are becoming increasingly scarce outside. Prices have also risen sharply. Sukingyu planned to collect some mountain products and wild animals in the village and let Si Yuan and the others take them out to sell. If you can sell it for money, you might as well exchange it for some grain or winter grain. We must ensure that the villagers can spend this winter safely. The bandits have all been driven away. If there are still people in the village dying of frostbite, that really shouldn't be the case. When Sukingyu said that he would organize everyone to hunt for mountain products, the villagers were all excited. If you find something good, you can sell it for money. If you can't sell it for money, it's also great to keep it for yourself to eat in the winter. Everyone is eager to try. This was also a good time to dig bamboo shoots. The leader of Zhone village had eaten the delicious bamboo shoots that day, so he immediately stood halfway up the mountain with his hands on his waist and started to drink. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 200. After hearing the shouts from the Zongjai leader, the villagers rushed to Sukingyu's place. The place where Sukingyu lives has become the activity center of the villagers. Usually everyone runs here when they have something to do, and also when they have nothing to do. It is very lively every day. As soon as I heard that women would be organized to drive into the mountains and men go hunting in the mountains, even the little old children started clamoring to go. Sukingnao thought that everyone would go together and someone would take care of them, so she did not stop the children, but put all the children into the women's team. Don't underestimate children, they sometimes look for things more sharply and carefully than adults. When the children heard that they were asked to go, they were all very happy. He ran home in a hurry, found his own small backpack, and ran over again, guarding Sukingyu's yard, unable to drive him away, for fear that the adults would change their minds. The men also went back to their homes to find various weapons, prepared rations and water, and went into the mountains while shouting. Those who were on duty looked on with envy. They also wanted to go into the mountain. When the men entered the mountain, the women and children immediately followed. Everyone entered the mountain with ropes wrapped around their waists, baskets and sacks on their backs, and various tools such as hoes and shovels. The large army marched into the mountains in a mighty manner. Xiaobao was anxious, shouting and clamoring to go. Sukingyu took a look and saw that the child had lost his temper again and felt helpless. Then I thought about it, keeping him at home these days seems pitiful. It's time to be lively and active. After thinking about it, he also carried him in the basket and went into the mountain. But she didn't plan to go too deep, Xiaobao was still too young. I just planned to take him to dig bamboo shoots in the bamboo forest and find some bamboo fungus. Just let your little one get in touch with nature and have a great time. Siyuan went hunting with the men. Lu and Ruyi had never been to the mountains before, so they were very excited. They also found backpacks and followed the large army into the mountains. Bamboo grows very luxuriantly in the bamboo forest, but there is no planning. There are patches here and there in the west. But because the mountains are rich in vegetation and wood, there are not many people cutting bamboo to make houses and furniture, and few people dig bamboo shoots to eat, so there are a lot of bamboo shoots. Looking at the past, they are everywhere. There is no need to look through dead leaves, bamboo roots, or earth. Bamboo fungus can also be found everywhere. Sukingnao originally planned to dig bamboo shoots, but Xiaobao followed suit. When Sukingnao dug, he grabbed the tips of the bamboo shoots and pulled them up. The bamboo shoot shells are covered with fine hairs, which are hairy when you touch them. The adults are still fine, but Sukingnao is afraid that Xiaobao will have itchy hands again. He immediately gave up the hard work of digging bamboo shoots, and took Xiaobao with a basket to pick bamboo fungus. Xiaobao couldn't pull out the bamboo shoots, but he could pull out the bamboo shoots accurately. You don't even need to raise both hands. When you see one, Dion runs over. The little chubby hand grabs it, lifts it up, and grabs it in his hand. But he couldn't control the strength well. Either the umbrella cap would be crushed by him, or the fungus stem would be crushed and broken by him, or he would pull it because he saw the white fungus skirt for fun. Sukingyu was so angry. Chase him and fight. The child thought Sukingyu was playing with him. When he saw Sukingyu coming towards him, he held up the bamboo fungus and ran forward laughing. He didn't cry when he tripped over a bamboo root. He got up, patted him, and continued running. He took 2 steps and then turned to look at Sukingyu. Very solid. Seeing that there was no danger, Sukingyu didn't care about him. While picking it, I looked at him. I couldn't help laughing when I saw him picking it up too. It's just that it may be too young and not very definite, so if it doesn't feel fun to pick it off after a while, it won't be picked off. From time to time, a pheasant would fly up in the bamboo forest, and one or two small animals would run past. He would glance this way, and if there was movement in the pile of dead leaves over there, he would turn that way again with a whoosh. He stood there not knowing which way to go, his little face was very confused. Turn this way, look that way, your eyes widen and your neck stretches. When I see something funny, I open my mouth wide, as if I have never seen the world, and I can't close my mouth. The little ones are so cute and adorable that they make you want to take a bite. There are many bamboo rats in the bamboo forest, and from time to time they are frightened by people digging bamboo shoots and run away in all directions. Sukingyu was scared every time. When she realized it was a bamboo rat, she immediately took a sip of saliva. What a good thing. Can't let it go. In modern times, there are many places that specialize in breeding this kind of fish. I heard that it sells very well and is very delicious. Sukingyu immediately called over the children who were digging bamboo shoots at the foot of the mountain and asked them to catch bamboo rats. Men went into the mountains to hunt, women went to the mountains, and children under half-year-old were not allowed to go into the mountains. Almost all children under the age of 7 or 8 stayed with Sukingyu. As soon as Sukingyu said hello, everyone immediately rushed forward. Children in the mountains are smart and talented at catching prey. Although I don't know why I want to catch something that no one wants. But when Mrs. said to catch everyone, she went to catch them. The children held various baskets and surrounded them in the bamboo forest. When they saw any movement, they all pounced on them and slammed the baskets on the ground. Several were quickly caught. The children were so excited that they lifted it from their ears to Sukingyu. Maybe they have never felt any malice from humans, and they are all kept smooth and smooth. One must weigh 6 or 7 kilograms. Sister Su, why are you catching this mouse? Xiaobao wants to eat meat. When my father and grandfather come back, I will give him pheasant and hare meat. I'll give it too. I'll give Xiaobao wild boar meat to eat. It's delicious. The children were talking over each other, saying that they wanted to give meat to Xiaobao, thinking that she was greedy for meat. The children sipped their saliva as they talked. Sukingyu touched the heads of several children and poked the soft body of the bamboo rat with her hand. Have you ever eaten this? They all shook their heads, no. There are so many wild animals in the mountains, who would eat a mouse? It's so small, and there's not much meat after peeling the skin. And it's so ugly. That's right. Xiaobao, I have some dried chicken at home. I'll get it for you when we get back. A child pulled Xiaobao, who was looking up at the bamboo rat, and said to him distressedly. Sukingmei was amused by the children's childish talk. This is not the kind of mouse that steals food at home. This is called a bamboo rat. Because it likes to eat bamboo the most and grows in bamboo forests, it is called a bamboo rat. Its meat is delicious. A slurping sound, really. Is it really edible? Is the meat really delicious, Aunt Kingmei? Sukingmei nodded. Why don't we try it tonight? Stir-fry it with bamboo shoots, add onions, ginger and garlic to make it fragrant, heat the oil, put it in the pan and stir-fry it, then add some bamboo shoots, add some water, and stew a big pot. The slurping sound became louder. Let's go catch them again. I'll go too. I'll go too. Xiaobao will go too. Xiaobao jumped and followed the older kids. The boys ran away and he couldn't catch up. He was so anxious that he cried, "Wait for Xiaobao." A girl saw that he couldn't keep up, so she went over and pulled his hand, leading him to follow. The younger girl couldn't keep up with the boys, and looked up at Suqing'an in a hurry. Would you like to pick bamboo fungus with me? Bamboo fungus is also very delicious. It's delicious when used to cook and make soup. Okay, let's pick bamboo fungus with ant soup. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 201. Sukingyu took the children to dig bamboo shoots in several bamboo forests at the foot of the mountain. Xiaobao followed the boys to catch bamboo rats and had a great time. No one is picking bamboo fungus. Although it is not the most vigorous spring season, there are still many bamboos in the forest. The girl has been working with the adults in the family since she was a child. She is very agile and can pick bamboo leaves to look for bamboo fungus. She can find one accurately. This job really has to be done by little kids. The adults are too tall and have to bend down constantly, fearing that their waists may not be able to bear it. When people get tired, they won't be very careful when looking for things. Moreover, adults have heavy hands and are not as light-footed as children. After Sukingyu taught them, the bamboo fungus picked by the girls had all the fungus cords at the bottom and the black caps at the top. The remaining skirt and stipe are very clean, not even a bit of mud is stained, and the stipe is not broken. They are clean and beautiful, arranged one by one in the basket. After a while, several baskets were collected. The boys also worked hard catching bamboo rats and digging bamboo shoots. I caught a dozen bamboo rats and dug up a pile of bamboo shoots, which was as big as a hill. If Sukingyu hadn't said that he would save the bamboos that will grow in spring to plant bamboos, I'm afraid the boys would have dug a lot more. When it came to Shenchi, Sukingyu decided to take the children back to the village. The children were not willing to leave yet and were having a great time. Xiaobao was covered in mud from playing, and his little face looked like a dirty cat. He also hugged the bamboo and refused to return. After being taught a lesson by Sukingyu, he had no choice but to follow him into the village with his mouth closed. Sukingyu coaxed the children and said she would prepare delicious food for them, and the children followed them down the mountain with saliva dripping from their mouths. The women who were driving up the mountain had not yet come down from the mountain, and the children arrived at Sukingneo's house carrying bamboo shoots and bamboo rats. Sukingyu directed the children to clean the bamboo fungus and peel the bamboo shoots. Looking at the bamboo rat, I felt worried. She doesn't know how to do it, doesn't dare to do it, and can't do it. Fortunately, all the half-grown children in the village were already prosperous, so a few boys volunteered to catch a dozen bamboo rats and dispose of them. Sukingyu breathed a sigh of relief and planned to let them eat more later. Lu and Ruyi followed the woman who was driving up the mountain into the mountain and did not come back. Sukingyu decided to show her skills to the children today. Although Sukingyu has never cooked since the Lu family came to her, her cooking skills are still good. The Biluk family and their daughter are willing to give in all kinds of condiments. Today's dinner is absolutely fresh. This is what I gained in the mountains today. Stewed bamboo shoots in oil, stewed bamboo rat meat with fresh bamboo shoots, bamboo shoot tip soup, simple, but delicious for a dozen kids. Everyone's stomach is full after eating. Xiaobao, your food is so delicious. A dozen children all nodded, yes. Xiaobao, your mother's cooking is so delicious. It would be great if you could eat at every meal. I also want to be able to eat every meal. My mother's cooking is not delicious at all. Then how about we dig bamboo shoots tomorrow and catch bamboo rats to Aunt Su and let her help? The children thought they were very quiet, but Sukingyu heard them all. I couldn't help but laugh. One meal won the hearts of a group of kids. While Sukingyu and the kids were eating fragrant bamboo shoots, drinking bamboo fungus soup that was so fresh that their eyebrows would fall off, and eating oily bamboo rat meat with every bite, Lu Bachan was also eating. His dinner was just two grey steamed buns as big as fists, plus a bowl of clear soup that looked like boiled water without any oil or vegetable leaves? Lu Bachan took 2 steamed buns from the kitchen, made a bowl of soup, poured the soup into a bamboo tube, and carried it up to the tower. The weather is getting colder. The wind at the border makes people's faces hurt. Lu Bachan sat down at the crenel on the city tower, leaned against the city wall, and looked outside the city wall. There was a wilderness in front of us. There were not a few trees in sight. It was all desert. From time to time, strong winds would blow, kicking up dust and blowing towards our faces. A few dozen miles further is the territory of Tubo. Tubo was currently fighting among themselves and had no time to challenge them, so he could rest quietly for a while. Lu Bachan leaned against the battlement, with one foot bent and the other stretched forward. There was no light in his eyes, only the desert sky. The bamboo tube was placed beside him. He took a grey steamed bun and took a bite from time to time, looking in front of him in the direction of Tubo. Another steamed bun was held in his arms. Be prepared to take it out after you finish eating what you have on hand. Otherwise, it will become hard when the wind blows. Cheeks hurt from chewing. There was the sound of stomping footsteps, and Lu Bachan tilted his head. When he saw it was the dog, his eyes moved back. "General, are you going to eat this?" Go Wa looked at him with some distress. "I'm still a general." Lu Bachan didn't look at him, put the grey steamed bun in his hand into his mouth and took another bite. Guo felt uncomfortable. He sat down beside him blankly. "I just like to call you general. You will always be Guo's general." He looked at his hands and became excited again. "General, I brought you meat. Look, there are several pieces. It's oily, you must like it." Lu Bachan only glanced at it and didn't answer. "You can eat it?" "I have it, I brought it for you." As he said this, he wanted to snatch the steamed bun from his hand, but Lu Bachan dodged it and prevented him from grabbing it. Guo took the opportunity to take out the other one from his arms, broke it into 2 halves, sandwiched a few large pieces of meat inside, and handed it to him. "Here. General, you can eat it. It's delicious. You work so hard guarding the city wall, how can you not eat some oil and water? It has only been a while since I lost so much weight." His face was chapped by the wind, and bloodshot eyes could be seen. Lu Bachan looked at the steamed bun raised to his mouth. There was oily meat in the middle, and the oil was still flowing onto the steamed bun. Sighing, Guo must have saved it from his own share. "General, you can eat it. I will have no shortage of meat with you." Lu Bachan thought for a moment and took it. Guo was very happy when he saw that he had taken it. He also took the half-eaten steamed bun over, broke it in half, and put the meat in it. "Be prepared to wait until he finishes eating before handing this to him." The two of them sat at the crenellations of the city wall. Go Wa raised the corner of his mouth as he watched Lu Bachan finish 2 steamed buns in silence. He calmed down again and asked him, "General, why don't you want to be my personal soldier? If you were my personal soldier, you wouldn't have to go to the city wall to blow wind and eat dirt." Lu Bachan said calmly, "There must be someone guarding the city." "But why you? You are the general in charge of the army, you should not be guarding the city wall." Guo felt very uncomfortable. The two fell silent again. "I feel bad." Suddenly Go Wa slapped his head. "Oh, I almost forgot something important." Lu Bachan looked at him. "General, I have your letter." "My letter?" Lu Bachan immediately became excited. Go Wa took out a thick letter from his arms and gave it to Lu Bachan. Lu Bachan quickly took it and looked at the familiar handwriting on the envelope. His eyes immediately became moist. "I stared at it for a long time and touched it again and again. My hands were shaking so much that I couldn't open it." "General, why don't you open it and take a look?" Lu Bachan wiped away his tears. He turned around quickly and opened the letter with shaking hands. Guo muttered dissatisfiedly, I can't read. Why are you carrying me? Sad. Why hasn't anyone written to him? I don't know if my family is well or not. Guo looked at the wilderness in front of the city wall, feeling a little disappointed. After a while, Lu Bachan had finished reading the letter and burst into tears while holding the letter. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 202. The letter was written by Su Qingyu when she first met Ma Mingwen and entered the governor's mansion. Audience, reading. It took more than 2 months before it passed into the hands of Lu Bachan. At that time, Su Qingyu heard Ma Mingwen say that he had met Lu Bachan, and Lu Bachan had let him go. Not knowing what punishment he would receive, I was worried. Knowing that he was still alive, she asked Ma Mingwen to help her try to deliver the letter. She wrote him a thick letter about her life after he left. She opened a shop and started a business, then she found out she was pregnant, and then gave birth to a baby. The family was separated due to some things, and then Fenting Town was drafted, and she escaped with her family. Unexpectedly, the war broke out and the family was separated. She and Xiaobao were first caught in a valley, recovered from their injuries and escaped, not wanting to be caught in a mountain village again. Later, he escaped to rescue soldiers and met Master Ma. Su Qingyu's letter told some things about the Lu family, about Xiaobao, and that she used the name he gave her, Lu Viang. It is said that the baby can walk, talk, call mother, and ask father. Very skinny, very lively, sensible, rarely cries, looks a lot like him. He also drew a small portrait of Xiaobao, with his head tilted slightly, not knowing what happened, and smiling so hard that his eyes almost narrowed. A cute and adorable look. Lu Bachan held the letter tightly to his chest, buried his head in his lap, and burst into tears. Crying like a child. The dog was completely frightened. Is the general crying? The general actually cried? Did something happen at home? Why are you crying like this? When I beat him with 100 military sticks, he didn't even cry. I applied medicine to him and he shivered in pain, but he didn't even cry. Now that I received a letter from home, are you crying? General. Qingyu, Madam. Xiaobao, my son. Su Qingyu had no idea that her letter would cause such a big reaction from Lu Bachan. All she knew was that after eating the food she cooked, a group of mountain children reacted greatly. Maybe the child will have to fight with the child. Xiaobao is particularly good at eating today. Usually when Xiaobao ate with them, he relied on Su Qingyu and others to feed him. Sometimes the food was finished and sometimes there was leftover food, and I didn't see how delicious it was for him. Today, a bunch of children were sitting together, and there were not enough chairs in the cafeteria. Many children ate standing up with their rice bowls in hand, but this did not affect their appetite at all. When Xiaobao saw the older children eating by themselves, he insisted on eating by himself. Su Qingyu gave him a wooden spoon and a wooden bowl. He couldn't hold the spoon firmly. The little chubby hand grabbed the spoon and ran around in the rice bowl, then grabbed it and put it into his mouth. It was spread all over the clothes, and Su Qing was not allowed to feed him. You have to compete with the older children. He grabbed the rice spoon with one hand and the meat with the other. His mouth was full of oil when he ate it, and there was oil even between the fingers of his chubby hands. Su Qingyu disliked him so much. The children in the village usually cook at home. Although there is no shortage of meat to eat, they can only pull out a few pieces from a large pot of vegetables. How can they be like Su Qingyu, who has a large pot full of meat and is willing to add oil and vegetables? Growing seasonings. The children ate so deliciously. Su Qingyu was afraid that she would overeat them. Standing in the cafeteria and staring. The children didn't leave even after eating, since the adults hadn't come back from the mountain yet. He stayed behind to help Su Qingyu clear the table, peel bamboo shoots and clean bamboo shoots. Very sensible. Sukingyu originally planned to give the bamboo fungus and bamboo shoots to the children for them to take home, but she did not expect that the children would not want anything either. He said that he would leave it to Ching now and let her sell it for money. "And Su, can you give us candy after you sell it? You want some candy? Think. We almost don't know what sugar tastes like anymore." It made Sukingyu feel sad and distressed at the same time. "That's okay. Just stay with Ansu. If you can't buy sugar by then, I will send you malt, make you maltos, buy you white flour, and make you cakes." "Okay, okay. Then let's look for it tomorrow. I know there is a big bamboo forest in the mountain next door. There must be more bamboo shoots and fungi there," the children said in a flurry of chatter. When it was getting dark, all the women in the village came back carrying her on their backs. When the children saw their mothers and sisters coming back, they shouted and rushed to welcome them. Lu and Ruyi also replied with smiles on their faces. The mother and daughter were carrying large baskets on their backs, and each carried a large sack in their hands. Climbing halfway up the mountain, I was exhausted. "How many?" Sukingyu stepped forward to take it. Very surprised. "This is still a small amount. I heard from the people in the village that it was too late to catch the mountain this year. In previous years, there would be more mountain products," Lu said excitedly while breathing heavily. "Miss, I'm going to cook." Ruyi was also very tired, but she looked better than her mother. "No need. I've done everything. You and your mother can freshen up and go eat." "Ah, miss, have you done everything? Why didn't you wait for us to come back? Is Xiaobao hungry?" Both of them looked at Xiaobao, fearing that the child was hungry. "I'm not hungry, I'm full." Xiaobao faced Ruyi mother and daughter and patted their bulging bellies. "Have you had enough, little treasure? You're so good." If he hadn't been so dirty, looking at such a cute little treasure, Ruyi and Lu would have pounced on him and kissed him twice. Sukingyu took out everything Lu and Ruyi were looking for. Looking at it, huo, there are quite a lot of varieties. Walnuts, hazelnuts, black pine cones, pecans, various nuts, tea fruits, and some unknown wild fruits, and more are various fungi. Lu Shi and Ruyi didn't bother to eat. They helped Sukingyu sort out the various fungi and spread them out to dry. The pine cone had not yet peeled off the pine nuts, and the mother and daughter picked up almost half a basket. That day, I heard Sukingyu say that eating nuts for the elderly and children is good for the body and nourishes the brain. Mother and daughter both picked up the nuts, hoping to save more for their little baby. "Miss, there are many tea fruits like this. Do you mean it can extract oil?" Sukingyu nodded. "This camellia oil is a good thing. It can be used for cooking and smearing. It can heal sunburns and burns. It can also nourish hair. It is also good for children. It is good for qi and laxative, especially for postpartum women. Well, if a woman can take some tea oil during confinement, it will help her body recover. Wow, this thing is so good. Mom, let's pick some more tomorrow. Then we'll save all the oil we've squeezed out for Xiaobao to use." When Lu heard this, she patted her thigh. "Oh, I thought it was too heavy today, so I didn't pick much. I didn't expect this thing to be so good. Then tomorrow, Ruyi and I will pick tea fruits. There are many on the mountain, and no one knew that tea fruits could be used before. There are a lot of them growing in the mountains, and no one is picking them." Sukingyu hesitated. "We don't have anything to extract oil." Lu didn't care. "It's okay, miss, let's pick it first and keep it, and let's Yuan and the others go to Renzhou City to have a look. If people in a state need to eat and drink, they can't even have a place to press oil, right?" Sukingyu nodded. "Okay. Then when the sun comes out, we will move it out to dry, and then peel out the tea seeds. Don't worry, let it sit for a month or two, and the oil yield will be higher." Both mother and daughter nodded. Then he said, "Miss, There are many good things in the mountains. No one knew about them before. But after Miss told me, now even the tea fruits that no one wants are treasures. Sukingnao smiled. There were always treasures in the mountains, but they were just hidden in the mountains and no one knew about them. After everyone finished driving up the mountain, she would search carefully to see if there were any valuable herbs in the mountain. The whole family needs to eat and drink, and we cannot do without any income. The three of them packed up everything, and then Lu and her daughter went to eat, while Sukingyu took Xiaobao to peel pine cones. There are half baskets in the pine tower. The pine trees are too high. Neither mother nor daughter know how to climb trees. They only used hooks to hook some and pick up those that fell on the ground.